All right, Sandra, let's bring in Texas Republican Congressman McCaul, Chairman Emeritus of the House Foreign Affairs Committee and the Homeland Security Committee. Congressman, it's good to talk to you. It's been a while since you and I got together.
Thanks, John. Thanks for having me.
I wanted to ask you about this because the president has ordered the resumption of the blockade beginning at 4 o'clock today. That's going to again put pressure on the Iranian regime to come to the table. But there are so many people who say unless and until we degrade their military capability to zero or as close to zero as we can get, they're never going to play ball. What do you think?
Well, I tend to agree with your assessment. I think the president was correct in giving negotiations a chance before an all-out war. But to your point, frankly, I don't trust this regime. I've never been sanguine about the negotiations being successful. I think what needs to be done in addition to the blockade, which we were successful last time with it, we should do it again. But we need to take out, just like I just got back from Ukraine, they have the same problem with Russia, is to take out the launch pads from which they are launching these Shahed drones that are targeting oil tankers in the Straits of Hormuz. That is where we could be most effective. We can disarm them so they cannot conduct any more foul play in the Straits. We can effectively open it and move forward. I also like the idea of replacing the 20% toll or fee that Iran was doing with a better idea, and that is the Gulf states helping to finance this effort rather than the American taxpayer.
Yeah, and President Trump talked about that, actually investing in America. We'll get to that in just a second. But as you know, CENTCOM has been hitting Iran nightly, and not just in the area of Bandar Abbas and around Strait of Hormuz, but further inland as well, some pretty significant IRGC facilities. But unless there's regime change, is anything going to change? Listen to your colleague, Congressman Tim Burchett of Tennessee, what he said about regime change.
It's not ever going to end until we get down to, we get a regime change down to somebody that we can do business with. And they're going to have to get away from the religious leaders, I think, and get a military leader to run the country.
So in terms of regime change, the president said, well, we've had regime change because there are different people who are in charge now. But it's really, I mean, it's just kind of another iteration of the same old thing. Should we turn back to Israel, do you think, in terms of this idea of refreshing the leadership? Because they're pretty good at doing that.
Yeah, I do think that was the original goal of this whole operation. Netanyahu sold it that way. They hit the bunker with the Ayatollah and his top leadership. We thought we would take out the regime and have regime change. It didn't happen, is the bottom line. And the IRGC, is basically the Revolutionary Guard arm of regime in Iran, and they are very fully intact. And to put this in perspective, the Ayatollah, when he took over from the Shah, infiltrated what was the equivalent of the IRGC and allowed him to take power. I think as long as we're dealing with a continuity of governance, if you will, of the Ayatollah's regime, we're going to continue to have this problem. So I actually agree with my colleague, Mr. Burchett. We don't always agree on everything, but I think he's right about this one because we're going to constantly have them negotiating in bad faith and not wanting to resolve this conflict. And so I think Israel, to your point, has Mossad. They are fully embedded in Israel. I'm quite frankly surprised they haven't done more towards this effort of regime change.
Yeah, well, I think they haven't because President Trump has sort of been waving them away from that. But who knows? Maybe it's time to renew that program. So let me come back to this idea that the president was floating. He said 20% fee on ships to help pay for U.S. security. The president's rationale is if we don't even use oil that comes out of the Persian Gulf to any great degree, maybe 1 or 2% of our national oil supply. So why should the U.S. foot the bill for all the other ships that have to transit through it? He has since changed that. But I thought it was interesting that what the president said prompted this response from Araghchi, the foreign minister of Iran, who said, POTUS is absolutely right. Whoever provides secure and safe passage of commercial vessels through the Strait of Hormuz should be compensated for this service. Iran has always been the guardian of the Strait and will remain so forever. 20% is, of course, too much. We will be fair. So, first of all, since when has Iran ever been, quote, the guardian of the Strait? And then secondly, these guys are like the mafia. They're trying to extort people for protection money.
No, that's exactly right. This is a battle for the Straits of Hormuz. I agree with you. I don't like validating this idea of a 20% toll on ships going through. So if it doesn't make it right if we do it, and we thought it was wrong when they did it, So I do like this night a better approach, if you will, of the people that basically receive the energy, that profit off the energy in the Middle East, also in Europe. Let's not forget Europe. 50% of their energy comes out of the Straits of Hormuz as well. I think they should be contributing to the price of this. But I like the new strategy, the new tactic. Certainly the Gulf nations don't have our military, but they have the financing and the wherewithal to make this happen.
All right, well, we'll see if it does happen. The president also said he's going to go after Pickaxe Mountain, which I know is going to be of interest to our next guest. Chairman McCaul, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Thanks, John. Thanks for having me.
Sandra?